Well, happy Saturday, friends. I see y'all coming in the chat there. Hello, Brooks and Renee and Fred. I see Randy is being as supportive out of the gate as he is every week. Valentine, oh my goodness, it's so good to see you, man. I hope you and your family and your friends are safe. David Kreitz, Adam Taylor, Ralphie Skaggs is here, and Amanda. Hello, everybody. Yes, Randy, we're broadcasting in true 7-bit sound today. It's the wall of sound. Beautiful. Welcome, everybody. Happy Saturday. Welcome to Logic Live number 83, which is absolutely mind-blowing. We're going to do Flame 2023 and the 2022 Flame Award. Our friends Stephane and Fred are joining us, as well as Robert from Autodesk. It's going to be a fantastic day. Like a cap to a fantastic week. Adam Taylor. Hey, Keith. Oh, man, it's been a busy week. As anybody who's been on the forums knows. You know what? I'm going to add this to the broadcast. Hold on. Nothing's better than Valentine saying, Russian invasion is not a reason to miss today's event. I love you so much, man. It's amazing. All right, Randy. This is for all my friends out there. Hello, everybody. My name is Andy. Welcome to Logic Live number 83. We're doing Flame 2023 today with Stephane and Fred from Autodesk, and we're going to be doing the winner of the 2022 Flame Award with our friend Robert from Autodesk. Happy to get going. Let's do it. This episode of Logic Live is brought to you by Synesys.io, solutions development, integration, and support, supporting Flame artists since 1997. And it's also brought to you by our friends at AJA, together with Flame since 2006. You need tech support? Call Jack Horrocks. You can reach me at jack@flametech.com.au for all of your Flame tech needs. In fact, I should probably call him for help with this keynote presentation. But if you need any help in the way of Flame networking, storage, or custom builds, give Jack a holler. He'll take care of all your problems. And if anyone is in the market for Boris FX plugins, please use Logik.tv discount code and save yourself 15% on all of their products, standalone or subscription, just by using the code Logic-15 at checkout. And while you're checking things out, check out the Logik merch store. Look your best while you're making all your great work with Flame. And we want to give a shout out to all of our patrons on Patreon. Thank you for your support. We are now up to, what's the number, Randy? 128 patrons, which we cannot believe. We're so grateful for the support that you've given the Logik community. We could not do what we do without you. And if you'd like to support what we're doing here at Logik for as little as $5 a month, get yourself access to some exclusive content like the Q&As we do after the shows, and some great merch and discounts, just head on over to patreon.com/LogikTV. Also got this great picture from our friend and patron, Brooks Tomlinson. Here he is with his the P620 that he won a couple of weeks ago. I wanted to thank our friends at Lenovo for providing that, and congratulations, Brooks. You look great. Randy, I think you'll agree with me that Brooks has usurped your position as the best-looking Flame artist in America right now, and I'm not just saying that because of the hat and the P620. He's beautiful on the inside as well. Here's Randy's favorite part of every Logic Live broadcast, some forum stats for 2022. We're up to 1,116 users. That's up 8 from last week. 671,000 page views for the year. That's up 36,000 from last week. 6.2 thousand posts, up 400 from last week. And we have 360 users on Discord, up 7 from last week. Discord's blowing up. I want to thank everyone for being so active on both the forum and on Discord. If you haven't already checked out the Logik Discord channel, please do. It's a great place for live chat, screen sharing. And what's great is every now and then someone will log on to Discord and just share what they're doing on Flame, and it's like a pop-up user group. It's an amazing thing. So please join the conversation at Discord at forum.logik.tv, and we're going to talk about it a little bit today. But if you haven't checked out the Hall of Flame website, please do. It's absolutely beautiful. There's a link up on the forum. It's an amazing look back at 30 years of Flame with great tributes to the friends we've lost and to all the people along the way who've made Flame and the community the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing that it is. We launched a few new Logic Academy classes for 2022. The first was one that I put together, Beauty Techniques in Flame, covering topics like blemish removal, cleaning up blotchy areas, red eyes and eye bags, texture and color balancing, and kind of presented under like an umbrella of trying to work as efficiently as possible. And we had two from our friend Randy. The first was a complete look at the amazing machine learning time warp tool that Andre Toloshny gifted to the community. Randy goes over how to install that on various different configurations of hardware. And he also has a great video on setting up PyBox, which is a way to connect Flame to other applications in your pipeline, in this case, Nuke. And these three join the other Logic Academy offerings, like the two amazing classes from our friend Jeff Kyle, one on Connect and Conform, and one on the image node, and then Randy's two videos, Intro to NDI and 8-Minute Aces. These are all available for free for you at logic.tv or at our YouTube channel. And of course, we want to thank our friends at Autodesk for sponsoring Logic Academy. Also want to give a shout out to Grant Kay and the amazing content he's putting out, the latest from the Flame Learning channel. We're going to look at it today with Fred, but Grant did a whole series of videos on all the changes done to the animation UI in Flame 2023, so definitely check those out. And by the way, 2023.0.1 is out as of last week, so definitely grab that so you're running the latest and greatest. And I think, yes, that's it. All right, my friends. So we had a new release of Flame released a couple of weeks ago, 2023, and I'm very excited to have our friends from Autodesk on, from the dev team, to talk about it. So let me bring up a little four-way split we have here, and I'll introduce our honored guests, our illustrious panel. We have, first off, we have Stephane Labrie. Say, how are you, Stephane?
I'm fine. Hello. Happy to be here with you today.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, my friend. And then, of course, we also have Frederick Warren. Hello, Fred.
Hello, Andy, and hello, everyone.
Welcome back. And then we have Robert Doche, who I think this is your first time on the on Logic Live, correct?
Yes, first time. Happy to be here.
Oh, excellent. Well, welcome, man. Robert does so much for the community, maybe even behind the scenes. I mean, I'm sure everyone has seen his posts on the forum. But Robert was so involved in in getting the Hall of Flame website put up and organizing and running the Flame Award and all many other things. He helps us with the Logic Academy videos. So like we couldn't do all the community is that much richer because of all your contributions, Robert. So thanks and welcome to the show. And I can't wait to do the Flame Award a little bit later.
I'm excited.
Excellent. So first off, we're going to talk 2023, and we're going to get things rolling with our friend Stephane. What do you have for us today, my friend?
Some slides. I'm going to talk to you about the new release and new technologies that we are providing, new workflows, in fact, that might be appealing for many people thinking about collaboration, remote workflows, and rethinking the way we work. And that's good to have options. So this is what we're going to talk about today.
Perfect. All right. Well, let me bring up your slides. And if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, in the YouTube chat.
Exactly.
And I'll make sure that they get to our guests. Take it away, Stephane.
Just like you said, we released Flame Family 2023 mid-April. So the last weeks were quite busy. I mean, releasing a software, a major release is always a lot of work, ensuring everything is working fine and all the deliverables, because spring release at Autodesk is for every product, not only the Flame Family products. So that means a lot of activity in the virtual building for releasing all the products. But first, go ahead. You were going to say something, Andy?
No. No. Okay. No. Go for it.
Sorry about that. I heard a voice in my brain. But first, I mean, we spent some time 2 weeks ago at NAB because, yes, trade shows, or for the one of you who don't know what a trade show is a place where people gather, talk about technologies, and have drinks.
If anybody's too young to flame to not...
Probably. So this year, I mean, when we look at NAB, because NAB has been canceled for the last 2 years, and then we were asking ourselves, so should we go to NAB this year? Because the idea to go to trade shows is to meet customers, people, users, friends, and if nobody goes, I mean, what's the point? What's the point? And then for one of the projects I'm going to talk to you about in a minute, so we had our friend at AWS asking us, well, if we wanted to go and come at their booth at the show, so we had a presence at the content production area of their website. So we took some pictures. As you can see, it was a busy show, even if this year, I think the numbers is around 55,000 people. So less people than the usual, 80, 90 of 2019. But still, I mean, the quality of the people was great. So, I mean, we've seen a lot of good people. So we had the chance to show Flame 2023 at the booth. It was very busy. On the picture you see on the screen, it was my Japanese demo. Our friends from NHK who come to trade shows, had a look at the different vendors, and they come to see us. They are a customer of us, so we were able to show them the new release with the real-time translation. So I had to reduce my pace and, really go slow to tell them, and the translator was pretty good at, translating the idea about what I was showing. So that was a great thing. So very busy booth. We also had friends coming. So Cooley, as you can see on the screen, came to the show. He was able to play with what we were showing, in fact, Flame on the Cloud. So he was using here the control panel, the tablet Wacom, the webcam tablet, to be able to see, how was the interaction with Flame. So I'm going to talk to that a bit in a minute. So he was impressed, like many people who came to the booth. It was a good time also to connect. So we had the opportunity to reconnect the people who we missed for the last 2 years. So, and of course, adding people to LinkedIn is always a good thing to do at trade shows. And we, of course, since Flame turned 30 this year, so we were showing all the demo reels, because as we know, people go to trade show for one thing, in fact, is to see the famous demo reels our customers are building content for. So we've done that again this year at the AWS booth. So, Andy, you missed NAB this year. That's sad. We had some people from the Logik community coming. So we had a drink at the Win. So we were about, I think, 20, 25 people. So we had, a good moment to, again, get together and see human being, face to face.
I was very happy. It was bittersweet, and it was so grateful to Brian Bailey for putting that together and sharing some pictures and everything on the forum. But I definitely want to be back there next year.
Looking forward next year event at NAB. So 2023 release. Fred will we'll talk about some of the features we've added, but the big thing we've added this year was, in fact, the ability to run Flame on the cloud. And this is not a big secret, because last year at the same moment, in fact, Will presented the 2022 release, and the demo was done on an AWS instance. And at that time, we were in a proof of concept using a single instance of Flame, so meaning you have a Flame running by itself with a cloud storage and so on. And the rest of the year, and in fact, we were proof of concept till, in fact, 2023 release, because the idea for us was to have an offering that would go beyond, in fact, a single instance. So to do so, we needed to have a lot of technologies in the back end, which was not available everywhere in the world, and we were able to work closely with our AWS friends to be able to make, in fact, Flame on the cloud. So I will show you some diagram to show what I mean by that. But first thing, what is important to understand, is that the Flame running on AWS is the same Flame as on premise, so running on your MacBook Pro or your Linux workstation. So this is the same user experience. I mean, we're not talking here about in-browser experience or a de-feature application. The Flame, the workflow you develop over the years will all be working as expected on the cloud. I said the Flame, but of course it's a whole Flame family product. So Flame Assist Flare that you can use on the cloud. There's also the rendering services, something we were not able to present last year when Will presented the demo of the 2022 release. So Background Reactor is available, Burn rendering is available. If you had a look at the 2023 release, we added something that our friend Alan Lettery presented many times, in fact, on his YouTube channel, which is the project server, or the stone and wire standalone configuration, where you can have multiple workstation or instance in the case of the cloud to have their project data centralized. This is something that is now part of the Flame Family 2023 installation. So it's an installation switch when you install the product. So have a look at the documentation, because this is not only related to the cloud. It's something you can use in your facility, and have a look at our documentation if you want to know more details about the project server. Same license to run Flame on the cloud or on-premise. So again, like I said, a Flame is a Flame, and you're going to be able to use the workflow as used today in your facility, but on an instance in the cloud if need be. Of course, the cloud requires technology configuration, so we created what we call the reference implementation guide, which is a document on our website which gives you all the knowledge that you need to have if you want to deploy Flame on the cloud. We tell you how to create your instance, the partitioning, the storage, the identity management, everything related to technology about networking, multicast that we need for the collaboration workflows, transit gateway, which is another technology that we use, again, for burn and collaboration, project server, and also remote display using Teradicci or using NiceDCV. Many of you, in fact, have used the remote capabilities of our product using RGS and all that over the years. So, I mean, this is not really different. The only difference is the backend is managed on AWS instead of being a machine in your machine room. And in some cases, the latency is way better than what you might have seen while working remotely from your office. So this is one of the simple diagram that we presented. So we have three implementation reference. So a simple one which can be easily created on AWS, where you have a single instance of Flame running. You have Teradicci, you have a storage, which could be many options. You have a simple FSX from AWS, but you can also grow to Pixtor or Weka if you need the performance and storage capacity. You can use a control panel from Tangent, like I've shown in the pictures. You can also use your tablet. And the configuration here is quite simple as opposed to a work group, which I'm going to show in a minute, because you don't need to define all the security rules for transit gateway and all that. So I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions about that. So keep them because we're going to get back to that. The second, or in fact, the third configuration, because the second is quite similar to the third, except that in the third configuration that you can see on the screen, it contains all the technology that you are used to use in your production environment if you have more than one workstation. So if we have multiple instances of Flame running connected to a project server, that means that all the metadata you create is on the project server. So that means if you want to terminate a creative graphic instance like a G4DN or a G5, well, you can do it, and then you will not lose anything because everything you created is on the project server. So this is a workflow that many of you are already using, and moving to the cloud, well, you won't see a difference except the fact that, again, the computer backend part is in the cloud. Of course, again, you would use NiceDCV or Teradicci to access that thing. You can also add burn nodes. I mean, at the end, it's a Flame family workflow with collaboration that gives you the capability you have and the flexibility of adding or removing resources. And this is the great thing with the cloud is if you want to add an artist or multiple artists for, let's say, 1 or 2 weeks, where you could pop instance, connect them to the project server, do the thing that you need to do, and then terminate the instances. Again, it's easier than to, let's say, rent a workstation, move the workstation, and we get great quotes at the show. We get quotes like, some people had to do a project, so decided to, instead of shipping a workstation from LA to Chicago, they use, in fact, the cloud. And it was cheaper for the production to use Flame on the cloud than to ship the hardware from LA to Chicago. So as you can see, depending of what you need as far as capabilities, the cost might makes a lot of sense depending of what your requirements are. So I will let you investigate these workflows. This slide, in fact, gives you the location of the documentation, because we have the system requirement page, which has been updated for the cloud, and now the technology partner that we have for the 2023 release. But also there's an FAQ, because you will have a lot of questions, I'm sure. So the FAQ on our webpage will answer all your questions. On that FAQ, you will also be able to have a reference for system integrators and reseller who are able to configure your cloud workflows. System integrator, and this is something that we have seen last summer, because Tom and Tom from Gunpowder, which are part of the system integrator program, in fact, are able to give you access to Flame on the cloud, and there are others in different regions of the world that can also help you. So if you don't want to go through the whole documentation, the whole configuration of the cloud, well, system integrator and the reseller will be able to help you. And of course, like I said, the Autodesk Flame Family Cloud Implementation Guide is available on our website. So it's 50 pages of great technology that you're going to be able to go through and define your environment with. And that's Flame on the cloud. Is there any question on the chat that a burning question? People are curious about that thing. So So I see a question about from Valentin about Lustre on the cloud. So Lustre is not something that we push on the cloud. You are still able to install our software on the cloud. So you would be able to install Lustre, but the fact there's no NDI capability, so there's no remote. In fact, viewing is a challenge for a color grading application. And after talking to our Lustre customer, most of them prefer to be on premise just because of the security. Not that the cloud is not secure, but in fact the fact that they have the whole infrastructure at their location makes the workflow easier than to deploy. But if you think about Flame, there are various workflows where you have shot-based workflows, adding freelancers for some time. So there are many use cases which take advantage of the cloud. But I mean, if Lustre could be installed on the cloud, but this is not really something, I guess, at the end that might be a great experience, just again because of the monitoring aspect of it, and the fact that you might want to be able to, especially if you work on long form, where you need to move, a big amount of media, that might be a challenge.
Maury had a question, and then I have a question. Maury's question is recommended hardware for, I think, endpoint, like maybe for the thin client.
The thin client, in fact, so if you are used to Teradici, there are multiple tiers. There's the thin client, the thick client, the zero client. So you don't need much, in fact, to run Teradici or even NiceDCV, right? You can use a laptop. I mean, with the basic graphic card. I mean, if you can stream Netflix, I mean, you can install Teradici or NiceDCV on your laptop. You can run that on Windows, on Mac OS. I would recommend using a Windows, in fact, either an Intel Nuke or a small form factor computer, right? The Windows clients for both Teradici and NiceDCV has more capabilities. I know AWS is looking for use cases for Mac customers to add capabilities, but let's say you want to have, like I shown on the picture, you want to have a tangent control panel. Well, this control panel will work better on the Windows version of NiceDCV, right? So that's why. I mean, I would say investigate your workflows, but you don't need much as far as power for running the client application for the remote display.
I saw on the chart there that background reactor was supported. Is that something like can you with the cloud configuration configure a second GPU and then assign that to background reactor? Or
yes, you can do that. This is similar to what you have. You will see instances with more than 2 GPUs. I would not go there because our technology doesn't work with more than 2 GPU as far as background reactor. So you would stick with single or dual GPU instances, and you would be able to do the same thing as you can do at home.
And then, Josh has a quick question here. What's the difference between NiceDCV and Teradici?
There are some security capabilities you have on Teradici. So I'm not an expert with all the differences of the two things, but both support, control panel, tablet, mouse. They have a good interaction. They are on different operating system, multi-display, and so on. So I would say you should probably want to evaluate both technologies to ensure which one fits the most in your workflows. One thing that is super important, because we talk about the cloud, but the cloud is all about data center, right? A data center in LA or in Boston might not have the same technology. So this is super important before wanting to deploy one or multiple instances of our product or having a connected workflows on the cloud to really understand the capabilities you have access to. I was talking about a transit gateway, which is a AWS service enabling multicast, enabling the collaboration. But not all regions in the world have access to that. So that means if you don't have access to this service, you won't have access to collaboration. So this is why you really need to work closely with AWS or system integrator, which in fact understand the capabilities of these data centers. So then you can have a great experience at the end.
Gotcha. A two-parter. How long have you been working on getting Flame ready for the cloud, and what was the biggest maybe challenge to overcome, or maybe something that we wouldn't really think about as an end user?
So I think it's around 4 years. We have been harassed by customers who were looking to
I haven't seen
positively
that.
harassed.
Yeah.
So they were positively wanting to move out from data center or machine room and be agile. I mean, being able to add or remove capabilities. And then at that time, 4 years ago, the type of instance, the technology was not there, right? So, and I can tell you that since we presented last year Flame on the Cloud as a single instance and the release of 2023, a lot of technologies have been added to the cloud, new type of instance. Like last December, the G5 instance have been added. So that means more graphic power, AMD CPU, more networking capabilities. And you will see that with AWS because they are quite serious as far as helping many customers to have success, right? But I mean, 3-4 years ago, it was not a good idea to be on the cloud for us. I mean, the interaction, the speed, the storage costs, and all that. But I mean, we have seen a lot of technology partner looking at M&E, and that's why we were able this year to be able to release our V1 of the cloud.
That's great. One more question. Sorry.
Just before, one thing, never take things for granted. Not because it's working on premise that it's going to work on the cloud. In some instance, I mean,
I think you're talking about like a life lesson, just like generally in life, never take things for granted.
Generally in life.
Specifically when considering working in the cloud, yes.
Yes, in fact, we were. So when we started validating on the cloud, we found that batch, in fact, was playing super fast. It was playing faster than 60 frames a second because there was no timing like we have from graphic card on premise. So we had to change, technology. But the good thing at the end, all the change we had to make to the products, in fact, is also helping the desktop users, even on the Mac, right? So we made a lot of things that have been changed to the low level that, in fact, you don't see because it's really well hidden. It's in the infrastructure of the product. But at the end of the day, it's helping everybody using the product, not only the cloud customers.
That's great. One more quick question from Josh, and then we're going to move on to Fred. Josh was wondering, is the collaboration multicast enabled by default in 2023 on AWS, or does that need to be manually configured?
So if you look at our documentation, the reference implementation guide, the example 2 or 3 will give you all the things you need to configure. So it's not a software, it's not on the Flame side, it's really on the instance and the networking capability side. So if you have access to Transit Gateway, you're going to be able to enable these things, put the security group, and then you're going to see in your network tab in Media Hub all your workstation because they're going to be automatically discovered. So it's going to be automagic like you can do in your facility. So if you configure your networking, that's going to work.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Stephane. And congratulations after 4 years of bringing that to
yeah, it took some time, but I mean, at the end, like I said, at the end, it's good for everybody because it gives you another option on how to use a product. It adds capabilities to the Mac and the Linux workstation also. So I mean, it's good for everybody.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man. I want to shift gears to our friend Fred Warren. There were some great improvements made in the animation UI and, of course, in other aspects of Flame, but in the 2023 release. And Fred's going to take us through a couple of those.
Yeah, I wanted to concentrate on the animation and as you mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, Grant did a good job, putting up some videos on that on the Flame Learning channel. So what I wanted to do today is give you maybe an idea from our point of view, like the process we went through, why we decided to have animation as the main area, and then we'll go through the main improvements that we've made. And
I'm glad you're doing that, Fred, because I'm sure, as you know, as a product owner, that for every person who's like, "Wow, I'm so glad you did this," there's likely going to be someone who said, like, "Why did you do this?"
Of course. Yeah, of course. And I know that later this summer we're gonna have another session and we can do a little bit more of a deep dive on maybe animation, but other features that we've done for 2023 as well. Mm-hmm. So, as you know. For the past year, we've been working quite a lot on infrastructure features. Okay, so we added Apple Silicon support. There's the Flame on the Cloud. We transitioned from CentOS to Rocky Linux. We've been also working, as probably a lot of you know, on the OpenGL deprecation, which is like a big endeavor for us. So we had limited resources to put on actual features inside the software. So we were looking at an area that the vast majority of users are actually relying on. And the data that we had showed that in the period that we looked at, 90% of users actually use the animation editor. So we looked at that. We looked at Flame feedback, saw that there was quite a few requests for animation, and also it's an area that hadn't been updated for like 20 years, I think. So we decided that it would be the main focus feature-wise for this release. So we went in validation with a few users to see what were the major pain points in regards to animation, what we could improve. The one thing that was clear from the get-go was that a lot of people were saying like, I'm using the animation to actually modify something that I've already created. I don't go there to actually create an animation. So what I want to see and what I want to work on is what I've already done. I just need to access it quickly to make a modification to it. So we're gonna move to the interface and we're gonna start. So we're gonna have a look first at the changes that we've made to the user interface, okay? So when you enable animation now, we have moved buttons to actually select the canvas that you want to see right on the left. Before it was a drop down on the right, so we were clicking on animation, had to navigate all the way down. Now you can quickly switch from curves to the dope sheet and to the info view like that. We've also added the same table display that you have in the media panel, for example, for consistency. It also helps workflow-wise. For example, before, if you wanted to select a channel, you had to really click on the name of the channel. So when you have things like X and Y, the picking zone was really, really small. So now you can click wherever you want on the row to actually select it, which makes it much easier. At the bottom of the list, we had the frame and frame out buttons. We moved everything that is related to the list itself as buttons to the left as well at the bottom there. So everything that is related to framing now is this button with all the different options inside the drop-down. And the last option that you are actually selecting will become the one that is executed by the button click there. We also add on the right side the user tab and the filter tab. All of these have been reworked and have been merged into the filter utility there. So you have the filter on-off button directly like that you have access at the first level of the UI, and all the different options with some presets. So we are shipping with 3 presets, but you can create your own. We're gonna see that a little bit later on. But everything is there, including all the management options. And then in the game menu, you have all the options that you're gonna use to actually configure the behavior and the workflow of your animation. Not a lot of changes per se to the display of the curves and the curves, a little bit more for the dope sheet. Okay, so we have reworked it so it's easier to see keyframes. So before it was thin lines, now it's squares. It's also easier to manipulate. So when you have something selected like this, you can see it and you can just grab a keyframe and actually move it. If you look at the end of a track, it's also much easier now to either move a keyframe, the last or first keyframe, or to rescale the track. So before you had to know that it was the Q shortcut that was toggling between the two. Now, if you select the keyframe and move it, it's gonna move. If you grab the arrow and move it, it's gonna resize the channel, okay? And back to the curves. On the right hand side there, what you have is basically the same control as before, but we have reworked them a little bit because before we had all the operators in a single drop down, and it was a mix of options that were actions, but also some selection that required another input in the form of a numerical value. So we cleaned that up and we exposed at the first level of the interface the position and the tangents. And all the action, so reverse, negate, and bake are there as button, and all the options that require the numerical input are available as a drop down. Nothing has changed other than the UI for the tangent interpolation and extrapolation. And the insert key was inserted inside that block on the right end like that. One, I would say, I'll say major, okay, but one change that I know won't please everybody, but it's something that came up in the validation that we've done, is the addition of contextual menus. Okay, and I know a lot of people do not really like contextual menu. I'm not sure I get why, because they are not always replacing, or the goal is not for them to replace buttons, right? But to offer like quick access to some controls and also additional controls that we do not have the place in the UI to actually put. So we've added contextual menu for the keyframes. Okay, so you have everything that you would get on the right hand side there as option in the contextual menu. Same thing for the channel. So if you open it for the channel, you'll get different options. If you open it by clicking in the background of the canvas, you'll get everything that is actually part of those three buttons at the bottom left. And the contextual menu are also available. So for the channels, it's the equivalent of the channels in the list itself. What it allowed us to do actually, and I'm gonna switch to my two of you here, okay? It allowed us to make it possible to work a little bit more with the animation editor displayed inside the viewport, which is not new. It was there before, but apart from being able to actually select a keyframe and perform some basic operations, there was not much you could do because you had to rely on buttons that were inside the menu to perform some action. So the addition of the contextual menu fixes that. Okay, so anything that you want to perform actually on a channel. So for example, here, if I wanted to just translate them, for example, I could just open my operator, select position, and say I want to move that by 10 frame. Okay, so I have access to operations like that. It was like the operation was not applied because I canceled instead of hitting enter. I didn't actually want it to move. And it also brings some new possibilities that would have been a little bit hard to put in the UI, as I just said. But now that we have contextual menu, we can create some shortcuts that are super useful for jobs or tasks, let's say, that you need to perform very often. So for example, let's say that I've created here just for my...
Hey, Fred.
Yes.
I'm sorry to
Do you have
interrupt.
some questions?
Yeah.
Or?
No, it's that, you know what? We're not seeing the contextual menus here in
Oh,
the
are
screen
you
share.
curious?
Yeah, no. So it might be when you did you might need to redo the screen share and do like a select all, or the whole desktop instead of just
Oh,
the Flame
sorry.
tab.
It's
Oh,
because I have. It's probably because I have shared only Flame and the context.
yeah.
Okay, sorry about that, Andy.
Okay.
Let me
No,
try
no.
to
Thank you, Renee,
read.
for calling that out.
So let's try again.
Okay.
Can you share my screen?
Yes, sir. There we go.
Okay, and let's see if we're gonna have some contextual menus.
There we go. Thank you, Renee.
Are you seeing
Flame.
them? Oh yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Yes. Flame 2021 Flame Award winner Renee Tim saving the day. Thank you, Renee.
Sorry about that. So let me just backtrack just a little bit. You didn't miss much, and I'm pretty sure that you could figure it out. But I have now contextual menus for the keyframe like that with different operations. If I click on a channel, I'll get all the channels options. If I open it from the background, so not on a keyframe or a channel, it's gonna actually give me all the options that were available here at the bottom left. Okay, and the same is true for the list on the left, okay, you can have access to it. And what I was saying is that before, in the viewport, if you wanted to perform some operations, so let's say you wanted to apply a simplify or something like that, you had to actually open the animation menu and access the buttons there. But now you could just do it by saying, like, I want to apply a simplify on my channel, and we gonna give you the controls there. Okay. One thing I wanted to also quickly mention is that a lot of work has been done to actually fix many small problems that might be almost invisible to you, okay, because you would have expected it to work that way to start with. So just like a few example of that, before, if you would click on a keyframe like that, we wouldn't show it as being selected with like a complete square. Okay, it would remain just as the unselected keyframe. If you would click if you would select a channel, for example, and click in the background, the channel would be deselected. So that would mess up a little bit with your selection. So just a few workflow tweaks that we've done like that. Things like, for example, here you can see that the value are reaching the edge of the table, and sometimes it would like overlap even the curved canvas. Now you can just like resize it so you can see the entire name properly, things like that. So just a few tweaks that we've done. Finally, no, not finally, sorry. I forgot that I was about to mention that with the contextual menu, we had some additional features now. So for example, if I have a keyframe on frame 1 here, I have now things like in the select option, possibility to select all keyframes before, after, on the channels, or at this frame, okay? So if I go select at this frame, you see that I had some more channel that were selected there. So if I wanted to move that, then I can quickly move all the keyframes that were at the same channel without having a doubt and looking around to find them. We also have a delete. So in that case here, if I wanted to get rid of the extra animation that I have created by mistake, I could always do a keep keyframe only. But sometimes you have a part that is an animation that you wanted, and then you created an unwanted animation after that. So you can just, let's say I want my scale, select all the keyframes, and then delete all after. So you are getting rid quickly of the animation that you have created without having to go fish for your own unwanted keyframes. Lastly, the one thing that I said at the beginning that was mentioned was around the filtering and being able to see right away what you're working on. Okay, so what we've done is that we have now automatic framing that has been reworked. Before, you had the option, but you couldn't, for example, zoom or do any modifications to it afterward. So you would, for example, do this and then it would reframe all the time. Now the reframing is always done when you select something. Okay, and the list filtering. So by default, we are showing you what's animated and selected. So if you actually select something in your schematic, you're gonna see it and it's gonna be framed by default. The same is true if you shift click in the numeric field, okay? It's gonna select it and you're gonna get the framing right away with the selection. You could switch to the selected filter, for example, and you see that you have shortcuts. So if you have selected, then it's only gonna show in your list what you shift clicked on or what you selected in your schematic. And those filters can be customized. So for example, here, if I go to my set criteria window, okay, you see that the animated filter just applies a animated, but I could say, for example, you know what I want to see is every channel that are named or contain X, okay, and I could just create a preset for that called X. So you see now that all I have is my X. You could then apply something like color. So I want all my X to be red. You're gonna have your curves red, but you're gonna have your dope sheet, the tracks being red as well in the dope sheet. And then you could also search for color. So in that case, it would be the same, but I could have created another filter that would say use the color and use red. Let's call that red. And then if I switch to animated, you're gonna see all my original keyframe channels that are animated. And if I switch to red, then only the ones that are color corrected or color coded, sorry, red will appear. So it's really flexible. So you can create, for example, something like for all the axes. So if you wanted to create something for the position, you would say X, Y, and Z. Okay, you can have multiple strings in there for the name, and then you would just close that, and then you see here that you have everything that is X, Y, and Z in your filter, so you can quickly then switch between the animated and your axes channels. And that's it for the quick overlook. Just wanted to mention, Andy, one last thing. You mentioned it that 2023.0.1 was out, but I would strongly suggest that you use that version instead of 2023. There are things in the animation workflow that we have actually fixed in that release, in addition to many other different fixes over 2023.
Fred, this stuff is so great. I know, it like changes to the animation UI is one of those things that, if someone hears it, they would be like, well, either what big deal is that? It isn't like that's a huge, like compared to the Slam Tracker or something. It's not a huge temple feature, but it's a quality of life feature. I live in that animation channel editor. I use it every day.
I think this is something, it's probably something that you didn't realize that you needed, right? Because for the past 20 years, 25 years, you've been using it, and like all its kind of drawbacks you got used to, and it was
Right.
just the way it is, and then you were like, that's it. But we think that the more you're gonna use the new one, you will realize that you're gonna perform some like super basic tasks super fast. And like what we want you to do is spend more time like on the cool stuff than managing keyframes and deleting like unwanted keyframes that you have created. So hopefully that's gonna help you.
Totally. I mean, everything from, as I was watching you go through, I mean, I'm holding my stylus here, so I'm kind of doing it like with you, just even the selection, selecting a channel. I can't tell you like how many times, I would have had the old animation UI set to filter only the things that are, only show me the things that are selected. And, I had a whole axis, but then I just wanted to change X, and then Y disappeared, and then things like that. So
Yeah.
this, it just
For
like hit me like,
example,
ooh, I love it.
so for example, before you could like kind of create manually a filter with like all the X channels, but you would have to like manually add them to your filter instead of just saying like, I want to see all the X all the time. And if I add a new axis in my action scene, it's gonna be there because it's called X. So yeah, a lot of small
That's
improvements
great.
like that.
The filters, the presets rather, the ones that you can make yourself, are they saved at the user level, or are they
Yes,
saved at a project level? Oh, they're in the user level. Okay, great.
everything is saved at the user level. Yeah.
That's great. Could you just do me one favor and I'll just show the pop-ups for the three little buttons on the lower left for framing and things. Those before we go
Oh,
off of
okay.
this,
Yeah. Oh, those
because
one were not. Those one
yeah,
were not
yeah. I
visible as
definitely
well.
want to see those.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Let me go back to Flame. So in the animation, what I was saying is that you had the frame buttons at the bottom there. Now it's a button that does a frame operation, And the frame operation that it does is the last one that you have selected here from the drop down between frame all, frame selected, expand hierarchy, and frame selected. This is also where you toggle your automatic framing on and off. For the filtering, this is where you can access the filter that you're going to apply to the list, but also manage. So set the criteria like I did from the viewport there, but you can also manage preset by assigning shortcut, renaming them, reordering them, like that. And then you have the gear menu where you have all the different options that you can enable or disable to change the behavior. So for example, we added something that will just show the curves from the selected channel, right? So if I have my scale, I'm gonna see just my scale and I won't see all the other channels that would appear as gray. So if I disable that, then you see here I have a gray line because I have more channels. But if I enable it, then I'm gonna see just what I have. Things also like before, if you would collapse something in the list like this, the channels would actually be hidden, and now they are visible. So tweaks like that that we've done.
That's great. And Fred, the chat's exploding. Everybody loves these things, and I love seeing comments like Jeff here saying, "I love improvements that I didn't know I wanted," which is true, right? You use it every day. Josh Lawrence says it was the best, and now it's even better. And just on and on. It's wonderful. Everybody's really, really excited to see this, and thank you for taking the time to take us through it, man.
It's really great that people liked it. The entire team will be pretty happy about that.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Fred. All right, moving right along, I'm going to bring up my friend Robert for the Flame Award, the 2022 Flame Award.
Yes. Do we want
This is
to
very
kick off
exciting.
with the award? Do we want to kick off
Yeah.
with swag giveaway?
Oh,
winners?
actually, that's true. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. You know, it's funny. It's almost like Robert and I talked about this before, and I screwed it up anyway. Robert, before we get on to the 2022 Flame Award, I wanted to share with everybody in the community the list of the 30 Logik members who won a 30th anniversary, a little bit of swag bag for leaving their feedback and their favorite memories about using Flame, right? So here is the list. And I want to congratulate you for using everyone's screen name. So congratulations to these 30 people here who won the 30 Years of Flame giveaway, courtesy of Autodesk. And Robert will DM you all on the forum. So keep an eye out and for your forum mailbox for a message from Robert about winning your prize.
Yeah, it was honestly really great reading through all these entries. Not that I was expecting short memories or a lack of entries, but I was like, holy cow, there's a lot of people commenting. I don't even know if folks wanted the swag. I think they were just excited to kind of share out past Flame memories, pictures. I saw a discrete tattoo as well got shared. So it's really awesome.
I know of more than one, right? It's great, man. No, I loved reading through that thread, and I encourage anybody who hasn't to please just go ahead and read, because it's just Flame is such a huge part of all of our lives, in our careers, especially for it doesn't matter for those of us who just started. It's probably great to read these things from people, from 25 or 30 years ago, because we were all in the same place. We were trying something new and kind of just fell in love. It's beautiful. Definitely read it.
Awesome.
Cool.
So another time for another big reveal, eh?
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's move on to the Flame Award. We had 16 entries this year, or 16 nominees, I should say, nominated by the community. Correct?
Exactly. Yeah, we opened up nominations in February, which feels like a very long time ago. And last year we had a great group of people, but the group of people this year felt mighty. I feel like we have a lot of all stars as nominees this year. I think we had about 1.5K votes that were casted this year.
Wow.
From the community and who they want to see win. But I guess before we dive into the results, we can take a moment to show off the first 8 nominees, right?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's take a look at our first 8 2022 Flame Award nominees.
Oh, I think you're muted, Andy.
I did that. I'm sure Randy will let that go. Yes, muted myself for the third time. Congratulations to the first 8. That was an excellent little recap there and a great edit. I wanted to ask you before we show the second 8. Do you want to maybe describe a little bit about the selection process or the judging process?
Yeah, so the way it works is that once the community is done voting, so once all those votes came in, we kind of took the top 6 vote getters, and then on, I think it was Wednesday this week, right? We hopped on a call together with past winners, so Vico, James, Duncan, Renee, Fred as well joined us, and then we took about an hour and a half to kind of watch all the entries, talk about the artist, the technical skills they used on their entry, artistic expression, are they community champions? We looked at kind of 3 different buckets. And after some deliberation, we sent out a poll and each judge casted their vote for who they want to see win the award this year.
Excellent. No, it was a great, when you say it was a deliberation, it was a great conversation too, amongst us about the entries. And it was just, it's always wonderful to see so many talented flame artists, and it's almost impossible sometimes to pick one, It was great. I love doing this every year.
Yeah,
cool.
Really great batch of entries. And I wanted to call out the amazing headshot that we got from Andy Dill.
Yes, it was the sexiest, I think, of all headshots, right?
Exactly, as well as Dave's headless headshot.
Right?
That was amazing. So
knowing Andy
yeah,
Dill, I think he said, and someone asked him maybe in the forum or something, where is the stage? Do you still have the saxophone from that picture? I know, yes, he does. It's in the basement, so
loved it.
Definitely calling that out. Cool. Shall we roll the second 8?
Let's look at the last 8.
Okay, here we go. All right. Incredible stuff. And it must have been hard, just to pick like the 10-second snippets of people's entries too, to fit into the edit there, because it's amazing stuff.
Yeah, I wish we could play through everyone's entire submission, but then we'd have a 35 minute video to go through. So
it's great stuff. I encourage everybody, if you haven't, just definitely, the entries are still available, right? They're still up on the Autodesk site?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. They're up on newpossible.autodesk.com/flame award. If anyone wants to go look through the nominees and their full entries.
Excellent. Well, I think the time has come, my friend Robert. Do you have the Flame Award with you?
Yes, I have it. Let me put it in camera.
In case there it is. In case anybody wondered it wasn't there wasn't actually a real physical object. There it is. Oh, that's excellent.
It is. It'll be in a box shortly on its way to the winner. Either on a plane or a boat. We'll see.
Amazing. And I agreed. Brooks just commented just so much talent, and it's absolutely true. It was a great kind of a great overview of like the spectrum of talent that we have in the Flame community. Even all the way down to like Mike Faglianti and his Python scripts and straight through to some of just like the mind bending visual effects that we saw and everything in between. I think that really kind of encapsulates what it means to be a Flame artist. It's wonderful.
Yeah. I watch them and I'm like, this makes me want to be a Flame artist because it's just such lovely work and really cool projects that we've seen as well.
Perfect. Well, my friend, should we reveal the winner of this year's Flame Award?
Moment of truth.
All right, here it comes. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2022 Flame Award winner. It's Rufus Blackwell. I remember Rufus came on Logik Live a few months ago and showed off this work, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. And everything that he showed from it, from the stuff that he had shot as the drone pilot to the tracking work that he did, to the kind of amazing things like we've all seen, the infinite transition before, but his use of like motion vectors to create parallax, and it was just absolutely amazing. And for him to also to come on and share that with the community was just a beautiful thing. And so congratulations, Rufus. Well deserved. Let's give another round of applause. Robert back up. All right.
Yeah, such an awesome breakdown. I remember, I feel like it was probably a couple months ago, I stumbled across it on social media and we shared it out on Flame social channels. It's just so clean and smooth, and he did such a great job at taking this footage that was shot from everywhere and bringing it together in one nice, cohesive, one-shot wonder, like I believe he calls it. So super well-deserved. He did.
And did it all in Flame. It was great. So congratulations, Rufus. Thank you so much, Robert, for putting all this together. The community definitely appreciates all of the time and love that you put in for Flame. So thank you so much, man.
No problem. The nominees were fantastic, and I see a lot of them in the comments. So it's nice to see that they're here. Yeah, shout out to L16. Absolutely fantastic work.
Absolutely. Congratulations to all the nominees. I'm going to bring Stephane and Fred back just to say thank you very much to all of you.
Andy, can I have an extra 2 minutes?
Of course.
I forgot to warn you about that while we were preparing, but there's one thing that we want to take the opportunity for. So in the development cycle, right, we have also bigger cycle. And right now, with all the infrastructure stuff, we are at the end, let's say, of a bigger cycle. So which means that we are starting a new one. And we want to just call out all the artists that would recognize them in this description. So we are starting a new round of validations. Okay, we're at the very start. So you may remember exercise in the past, like what we did in Vegas with the $100 test and things like that. Yeah, the Autobox, this kind of stuff. So we're at the start of a new cycle like that. And we want to talk, so the development team wants to talk with people who identify themselves as what we would call maybe a lead artist. So somebody that leads a team that uses Flame as the hub for many different artists, assembling everything in Flame, doing finishing in Flame. If you are a one person shop that does all the conform, the finishing, everything with different assets, you might feel that profile, that persona as well. But if you feel that you are that target audience and you would like to spend an hour talking with me, Stephane, other persons in the Flame team, just send me a message, maybe through the Logik site. and we will contact you maybe in the future so we can know what you would like to see added in Flame in the future.
That's great. That's great. I've loved being a part of that in the past, and I encourage anybody out there who I would say who identifies with some of the things that you called out in terms of what they do in their workflow, to definitely give Fred a shout and be a part of helping them, create those features in the future. So thanks so much, Fred.
That's it. Thanks, Andy.
You got it. So thank you, Fred. Thank you, Stephane. Thank you, Robert. Congratulations, Rufus. We're all out of time. I am going to be, I just picked 3 people at random to give away some merch to. So congratulations, Daniel Lang. You're getting yourself a Logik hat. Anton Anderson, a shirt. And Peter Kazuski, a license of optics courtesy of Boris. I'll email you all and get the details. But I'm going to let our friends from Autodesk go. We'll see you in the patrons chat over on Zoom in a couple of minutes. And I'm going to wrap things up here. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, coming up on Logik Live, we're going to be off for 3 weeks, but we're coming back on Sunday, June 5th. We're going to do a Logik meetup on Discord. I've been talking to Randy, and I think we might do a theme called, hey, you want to see something cool? If you've done something cool in Flame and you want to share it with the community, we're going to do that on June 5th. It can be, it doesn't really matter. Something that you find cool, that you think was great, and you want to share with everybody. We're going to do that on Sunday, June the 5th. On Sunday, June 12th at 2 p.m., our friends from Boris Effects are going to be on to show off the latest from Mocha and Silhouette. And then on Sunday, June 26th, Fred is going to come back to kick off our Summer of Flame for this summer. So once a month for June, July, and August, we're going to have a member of the Flame dev team on to kind of deep dive on features and then answer all of your questions about Flame. Thank you so much, Fred and the dev team, for that. If you haven't already signed up for the forum, please do. We got to get those numbers up, make Randy's dreams come true. And while you're there, please also join the conversation on the Logik Discord. You can sign up at via the Discord link at forum.logik.tv. This episode of Logik Live, like all the others, will be available on the website at logik.tv shortly. I have recorded new podcast episodes. They're going to be coming out in the coming weeks. But if you haven't checked out my interview with Cristobal Valenzuela, CEO and co-founder of Runway ML, please do. It was a fascinating conversation about machine learning and visual effects. We're up to 1.3K. That's 1,300 subscribers on our YouTube channel. But if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. You'll get notified when there's new content. Thank you to all of our patrons. And if you'd like to become a patron, you can do so by going to patreon.com/LogikTV. Be sure to check out the Logik merch store and call Jack Horrocks if you need anything in the way of technical support at jack@flametech.com.au. Remember the Boris discount code if you'd like to save 15% on all Boris Effects products. Thank you, AJA, and thank you, Synesys. Of course, thank you, Fred and Stephane and Robert. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. We'll see you over at the Patrons Chat in a few minutes, and have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.